Welcome back. W said many, many times that the Stanley Cup playoffs are the most wonderful time of the year. It's only wonderful when you win, and quite frankly, around here, we never win. The Capitals won on Monday night, Game 6, defeating the Columbus Blue Jackets 6-3, and a little bit of a runaway, and now we'll await the NHL schedule and await the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Ed Frankovic joins us now live via satellite from his palatial estate in Ellicott City. We both watched this thing unfold. Not an easy series by any stretch of the imagination, but a nice little test for the Capitals, a scare put into them losing the first home games, and it feels to me over the last couple of games they've sort of righted the thing a little bit. They're playing as well as you would want them to play entering a series with the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with the playing as well as they can play. I like the way they adjusted their game and became more of a north-south team. And really, and especially on the road, and I blogged about this out at WNST.net following the victory on Monday night, especially on the road, they play a much smarter and simpler game, Ness. They are putting pucks behind defensemen. They're putting pucks on net. They're not gambling at the offensive blue line. And that really paid dividends, and that's why they're 3-0 on the road. And if they can clean up a little bit of their home game, they're going to have to clean their home game up because here come the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions. But if they play that way and they get the goaltending they're getting from Holtby, they have their penalty kill, they adjusted the penalty kill. Coach Trotz won't tell you what he did, but what he did was he made some adjustments with the forwards at the top of the penalty kill, and that was why Columbus did not score a power play goal the last 4 games of the series, and a big reason why the Capitals are moving on.
Well, staying out of the box is the first thing you want to do, right?
Yeah, and even, unfortunately the officiating was very shaky, I thought, the last few games, especially the blatant trip of Juice that wasn't called that made it 3-2, but I love the way the team was mentally tough and responded, because we've seen teams in the past, Ness, you and I have seen Capitals teams in the past, something go against them in the third period of a game that makes it close or puts them behind, and they fold. And when they got that goal after the blatantly a missed trip on Boone Jenner, or Matt Calvert on Christian Juice, but the Capitals responded with 2 quick goals. You have to love the way that team stuck together, was mentally tough, and didn't let that affect them. I was very concerned, but this team, they're showing something.
All right, well, they're scoring goals. Let's start with that. But Holtby in net. Let's start with that because the Stanley Cup run begins with that. And this story really is going to be about him coming into the game in Game 2 and changing everything. Yeah,
Grubauer, you could say he earned the start based on his play in the regular season. You and I talked about it before the series. I'm a Holtby guy. I go with my $6 million goaltender, but whatever. Coach Trotz went with Grubauer in Game 1. And I really think that Panarin goal in overtime and actually the Jones goal to tie the game up, the Blue Jackets found a little something there, and they found the glove, and they exploited it. So the switch to Holtby was smart. He's a bigger goalie. He takes up more net. He's 20 pounds bigger, better glove hand, and Holtby just came in, and he just took those easy goals away from Columbus. And they really had to work to try and score, and they were only going to really score on rush goals or the power play, and they made the adjustment with the power play as well. I think goaltending is always the key in the playoffs, and I think we're seeing 2012 Braden Holtby like I asked for coming into the series and all season. If we continue to get 2012 Braden Holtby, they've got a chance against a heavily favored Penguins team.
I guess we've looked at Ovechkin and year after year, and we say, when will he play his best hockey in April? Played some pretty good hockey this week. By and large, there were some times he disappeared, but for the most part, a star of the series and certainly the number 1 star of Game 6.
For sure, Ness. Just when, the Capitals had a 5-on-3 in period 2 there, only 32 seconds and couldn't score. And that's usually a turning point in a game. Usually you don't score on a 5-on-3, you lose. You score, you usually win. And the Blue Jackets got some crowd energy after that stop. And they got a goal shortly afterwards on a blown coverage by the top line, and it looked like Columbus had all the momentum. And like a couple minutes later, the Capitals get the puck down there, they cycle it around, and it was really started by an Ovechkin hit. Alex Ovechkin puts Oliver Borgstrand into the right wing boards in the Columbus zone, and he turns the puck over right to Christian Giroux at the point. And then Ovi does the next smart thing. He goes right to the front of the net, and the Capitals work it around. Beautiful passing from Wilson to Kuznetsov to Hughes to Orpik, of all people, at the top of the blue line, and he blasts one, and through trap. Ovi's in there with 3 Blue Jackets, and Bobrovsky just has a hard time seeing that shot. It hits his pads, and Ovi, Johnny on the spot with the beautiful backhander into the net. And that just brought the Capitals back to life. Every time it looked like the Blue Jackets were going to grab some momentum, the Capitals turned it around. And Alex Ovechkin was the one who started it, and then he got the third goal on a power play rocket off the post. He was easily the star of the game. He gave them that 3-1 lead going into the third period. That they handled the Blue Jackets assault and the Zebra assault that came against them and managed to work it down and get this win. But Ovechkin was a big key in Game 6. No doubt he was much better than he was in Game 5 at home.
As far as injuries go and how the team's playing and how they match up against the Penguins lost some guys from last year. Obviously, there's bad blood here, right? I mean, these are teams that don't like each other at all. The bulk of both of their rosters are the same as they were 52 weeks ago. Difference makers in this thing for me, how Holtby's playing, the health of Ovechkin, where he is. Where's Burakovsky in all this coming back?
Well, Trotzy said he had to have a minor surgery, so I don't know that we'll see him at the start of the surgery. I can't imagine it's something. It's got to be something with his hand or his wrist. You would think to have a minor surgery because there's no such thing as a minor shoulder surgery. I was worried it was a shoulder and he might be done, but they said it was a minor surgery. He could be back this round. But I love the way Chandler Stevenson has stepped up into that role in that second line, and he's a good two-way forward, and he had a bunch of points, and he had 4 points in this series, and that's something they need, playing with Backstrom and Oshie, and he brings a lot of speed out there. So they're going to need that speed against the Penguins because in the past they haven't. I would love to get Burakovsky back, but the way Stevenson's going, that's a big help. The concern on the Pittsburgh side, though, is Evgeny Malkin. He didn't play Game 6 against the Flyers. Got banged up pretty bad in Game 5. So we'll see what happens with him. You got to figure he's going to get a couple days rest here with the Leafs in Boston still having to go to Game 7.
Boy, they scored a lot of goals, man, Pittsburgh. I mean, and I know part of that just might be on the Flyers and where they are and Norworth and all that. But, I mean, they scored 7 and 8 goals a game. I mean, they're flying right now as well, even though they struggled a couple of games against Philadelphia. Philadelphia beat them up pretty good, 2 of those games.
Yeah, the Flyers just don't have the goaltending. I mean, that's not just coming from me. That's coming from an unbiased NHL scout. Just said the difference in that series is the brutal goaltending. The Flyers just don't have it with Brian Elliott and Peter Mrazek and Michael Neuwirth. And those guys they're backup goalies, and they're going to have to go against an elite goalie and Braden Holtby. The Penguins do a lot of things similar to what the Blue Jackets do, in that they try and feast on your mistakes and beat you with odd man rushes. So the Capitals are going to have to be very, very strong in their own zone and the neutral zone, and not get into that type of hockey game, not get into one of these end-to-end games, because they got Malkin, they got Crosby, they got Kessel, they got Hornquist goes to the net, they have Hagelin, they have so many guys that can skate, Gensel, Sheary. The Capitals have to play the way they did when they went into Pittsburgh. And I think that's the game where Grubauer got the net, was the great game Grubauer played against Pittsburgh that Sunday night when the Capitals locked up the division. They got to play a game like that. If they get the lead or if it's a close game, the Capitals just have to be patient. They have to kind of sit back and maybe clock the defensive blue line and make the Penguins make the mistakes and beat them the other way. The Penguins certainly are prone to mistakes. They showed that against the Flyers. And the big key for the Penguins is, can Matt Murray find his form? And if Matt Murray gets hurt, and he's very injury prone as well, they don't have a Marc-Andre Fleury they can go to. And Marc-Andre Fleury was the difference in the series last season.
Well, we'll see plenty of Sidney Crosby here in the coming week, and Phil Kessel, and Mata, and, Sheary. We go through all the names of all these guys. Gensel, who scored 4 goals on Sunday, as I watched that up in Philadelphia as well. Capitals and Penguins, they'll sell you the whole seat. You'll only use the front half of that. Eddie and I are going to be running around. I might be going to Pittsburgh before it's all over with. I'm waiting on the schedule. Boy, the NHL does a lousy job of sort of resetting these schedules, don't they? One series in play out of 8 that goes to Game 7, and you wake up on Tuesday morning and there's no schedule to know who's playing when and where and why.
Yeah, I'm not really happy about it. It seems like the NHL is such a slave to the TV networks, with the Canadian networks and NBC, and with Boston, a big market, and Toronto, a huge market in Canada, undecided as to who's moving through, and the NHL would have loved to have both of those 2 teams through. You know that. That's what's driving it. It's all TV, and the NHL is so reliant on those dollars coming from TV money that they're a slave to it, and that's why it's not out. But you would think they could come up with 2 schedules and say, okay, if Boston wins, this is it, and if Toronto wins, this is it. Hopefully we'll see something like that on Tuesday or Wednesday before Game 7, but you never know with this league.
All right, man. Well, rest up. It's going to be a short little turnaround here because we're going to be back on the ice in no time and flying around and flying up to Pittsburgh. They'll be at home all weekend. We sort of kind of know that, whether it's Friday, Sunday, Thursday, Saturday, whatever it's going to be. The Caps are going to be home to start this thing and then headed off to Pittsburgh. An exciting Stanley Cup playoffs all the way around, right? I guess a lot of these teams have been sitting around. Vegas has been sitting around for a week waiting, right?
Yeah, Vegas and the Sharks haven't played in a while. That's going to be they're going to be rusty coming out. But, yeah, it's amazing. We only have one Game 7, Ness, and there's nothing like a Game 7 in the NHL playoffs, and we get only one of them. I'm happy that the Capitals aren't going to a Game 7 because the way the Capitals play Game 7s at home lately, you just don't want them. So I would actually prefer this Caps-Penguins series to start on the road, but the Capitals are going to be at home. They've got to simplify their game. They got to pretend like they're playing on the road at home in games 1 and 2 because they can't afford to get down 0-2. They were very lucky to survive Columbus going down 0-2. They cannot do that against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Oh, it's April, and we're Caps fans, and we're all nervous. You can find Ed at Ed Frankovic on Twitter, as well as Ed at WNST.net as we get ready for the next round. We'll have a primer for you the second that the schedule becomes available. You can learn all about that by subscribing to our morning newspaper. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. And, of course, the racing entries now a part of our morning newspaper for Laurel this weekend, as well as for Pimlico 2 weeks from now. I'll be heading down to the Kentucky Derby at Laurel next Saturday. And, of course, the Preakness celebration begins the 18th with the Black-Eyed Susan in pink, and then the 19th with the Preakness and all of the music and that bottomless mug cup as well with Budweiser out at Pimlico. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. And don't forget, road trips to Charlotte and Nashville now on sale under the Road Trips tab at WNST.net. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports. Good. Kept it short today, dude. Figure we'll come back and do some more setup once we get the actual schedule together, okay?
That works good. I'm sorry I was late today, but
dude, no worries at all.
We hit enough.
No worries at all. We're all good, man. Take care of yourself. Rest up, and I'll circle back with you when the schedule comes. If you see the schedule, let me know.
I will. Do it right away, Ness.
See you, bud.
See you, buddy. Bye-bye.